Hi guys, so today's video will be more about how to pass CASA assessment. So basically what happened is we have an application, startup Notiq, and suddenly we realized that there's actually additional requirements for it. And we are required to complete the CASA security assessment for Google. And actually, why did it happen? Is because we wanted to integrate Gmail into our SaaS. That is actually like an AI aggregator for all of your communicators. And whenever you're doing it, it's actually you need to pass all of those different requirements: homepage, policy, app functionality, some branding guidelines, etc., etc. And only then, if you see that you've requested access to some restricted scopes, there is additional security assessment. And this, as you see, this is one of the screenshots from Google. This assessment verifies that the apps can securely handle data and delete user data upon request. And in the past, actually, it was possible to do it kind of self-assessment, which was actually great because it was free. Right now, it costs, I believe, it starts from $540, and of course, it can reach into the thousands. And because you need to use uh, external tool, external company that will grant you this letter of validation (OV). And so whenever you're requesting access to restricted scopes, and what are those restricted scopes actually is basically whenever you're using Google's data and you can categorize, you need to have an access to this data. And it can either be non-sensitive, sensitive, or restricted. And all those different scopes may relate to different accesses. For instance, for some read-only data, maybe sensitive are something that you request access to private user data, and restricted is this is highly sensitive, like emails, maybe, and probably some content inside the Google Drive, maybe something in calendar. It all depends. You need to check what are the scopes that you are accessing via OAuth, and for all of your different situations, it can be either restricted, sensitive, or not sensitive. And of course, if you get anything for restricted, you need to pass this and undergo this additional security assessment. And so how do you get informed about it? So basically, whenever you reach that point, Google will send you an email that CASA assessment didn't undergo before some time, and it can take up to 6 weeks. And this is like some authorized lab scan. They partner with Tax Security. When I checked, this is actually the cheapest one. And there's also tier 3 assessment, which is a different one, etc., etc., and some useful resources. So you get all this information, but actually what this CASA is, because it might scare people quite a lot, especially when you go to this website. This is from this CASA assessment website. All the links will be available. And you have 73 requirements. And they have, of course, different CVE ranking from high to low. And all those different requirements actually look like this. So basically, you have list of those 73 requirements with different descriptions and different sections, chapters, etc. And you need to check against all of those. And I mean, of course, in theory, but also practically, and we'll read that later. So basically, let's go maybe about this one. You have documentation and justification of all the applications, trust boundaries, components, and significant data flows. So in order to pass it, you need to, it's good to have this information available so that you have this documentation, so that you are aware, okay, there are no potential security risks, this is where our trust boundaries, this is how our components communicate, maybe something are in the private network, something in the public, and all of those information are available. So this is for you. About the other stuff, that sensitive data is identified and classified. Of course, there are different protection levels for your data, and you need to appropriately handle them. Some of them, they require, let's say, data encrypted in transit and at rest. Some of them require something additional, some additional steps. So all of them, you need to actually categorize and analyze what is needed for what kind of data. And actually, how do you approach it? Because there are 73 of those. This is only 6. Some of them, they seem like, okay, they might not apply to you. Some of them might. And some of them might be very simple for, let's say, changing the time for your one-time passwords that are being sent via email. And some of them, they require huge changes in your application. And so basically, how to approach it. So on the start, first of all, what I did is, since we use Notion, I created like a huge page with all those requirements. And I literally copy pasted all of those requirements, and then went into every one of them to just analyze it, put it whether it's valid and we should think about it, or maybe it's not, because not all of them will apply to you. Some of them, this is more generic because it might also approach some desktop application, maybe some workspace, etc. So this is and there are different kinds of applications that you need to test. Some of them, they might be mobile, etc. So all of those things, they are generic, and you need to approach it from the perspective of your startup. All right. So how can you test it? So since I've created this list, I know, and I went literally scanned our application and went and checked, okay, this is the requirement that we need to pass. We are missing maybe thing A. Here we are missing maybe not all of the RLS and row level security have been configured, and etc. I went through all of those, actually fixed them, and then went back, have the answer, and had everything prepared and ready. And actually, before going into that website, you can test your app before. So as I have mentioned, it was possible to do it, I believe, in 2024, and to test your app via self-scanning process, but it's deprecated now, and of course you cannot do it anymore. So basically, there were two different ways. So first of all, there was this OWASP with Zap tool, and another one was FluidAttacks. And one was for the dynamic scans, which was Zap, and the other one was for static scans. And both of those tools are actually available. So you can reach that in the website. You can check, there are some standalone scanners. There's actually a website from the FluidAttacks. And you have pre-created Docker images that you can run and check your application. And I run both of those to find whatever is necessary. When it comes to ZAttack proxy, you can also download it and run it on your own computer. I did it both by running it in the application as well as in the CLI, because it's easier, faster, and just better from the programming perspective. And then, of course, checked all of the headers, whether everything was there, and evaluated it, removed it, and we had it working. So this is how you can test it actually from your side. So there's a lot of stuff that is happening in the middle, but of course you need to check and evaluate it from the perspective of your own startup. And how does the assessment look like? So we bought this tax security, and basically you need to submit all of those information like OB details. You scan your app, you create a report. Depending on what type of app are you checking, you can choose either Dust or Fast. And sometimes, but of course in SaaS you will need to send them your source code, right? I believe some people try to send only the evaluation from the FluidAttacks. I think it was passing in the past. I'm not sure about now. So we went with the dust process, and of course we generated a report with some basic issues. As far as I've checked, I think this is literally they're running the attack proxy, and they create a report from that, and then as far as I know, I think they are providing it here. And you can download it and check entire report and all the issues that you have. And apart of that, you also need to check all of those questions. And if you remember, all of those questions, the security assessment questionnaire, this is actually those questions available from the CASA requirements page. So if you went through all of those, you already have the answers to the question, and you provide the comments for all of those questions. And actually, it simplifies a lot. And And what else? Since you did, as soon as you did it, you submitted it, just reiterate and wait for the pass. And actually, that's all. And so if that helped you, let us know in the comments. Maybe you want to dive a bit deeper into any of the topics, how to pass some of the specifics on this CASA requirements, let us know, and we'll fix it. One important thing, sometimes there are different tier packages when it comes both to CASA assessment as well as to the payments to those companies. So check all of them, check which one applies the best for you, and choose it. And of course, good luck. Thanks.